Filmmaking is a tricky, tiring process at the best of times, and that's without even considering the possibility that an actor just isn't happy with a scene as it's written. Perhaps they don't feel comfortable with what they've been asked to do, or maybe they can't make sense of the narrative, or just maybe they don't think it's consistent with the character they're playing. Whatever the case, it happens, and it happens a lot. So let's take a look at them today, as this is Whatculture.com, and these are scenes that actors refuse to shoot. Taron Egerton wasn't comfortable reaching into an actress's underwear. Kingsman: The Golden Circle. Though most of us have long forgotten the rather disappointing Kingsman sequel, The Golden Circle, there is a single scene that, for the better and mostly for the worse, few will ever be able to shake completely. The scene in question sees Eggsy plant a tracking device on Clara during a, sexual encounter. To hammer home the point, director Matthew Vaughn provides a totally unnecessary close-up shot of Eggsy shoving his hand down her underwear in order to place the tracker. In addition to leaving audiences squirming, it left Taron Egerton alarmed enough on the page that when it came to shooting the scene, he told Vaughn that he didn't feel comfortable doing it. And so the decision was ultimately made for the actress's husband, James Cook, to double as Eggsy's hand for this rather delicate scene. Egerton said this of the experience: "I'm in the shot, and I said to Matthew, I'm not comfortable doing this, so it's not actually my hand, it's Poppy's husband's hand. He saved the world."
Being a movie lover on the internet can be pretty exciting. You got a buffet of streaming services to choose from, endless places to yap about them on, and wouldn't I know it, and also shops to fuel your fandom further. But it's also a bit of a Wild West vibe out there, and that means needing some protection, partner. Yeah! That's why we're selling up with Sheriff Norton VPN, the fastest rootin' tootin' VPN in the West, and one who'll escort you safely to the films and TV shows you want to watch. Scan the QR code on screen or use the link in the description to get Norton VPN Standard, with the price for your first year working out as little as $3.33 per month, or £2.50 a month if you're in the UK. With that, you can also watch your favorite content on the go hassle-free, protecting your internet connection on public Wi-Fi wherever you are in the world. You also get a 60-day money-back guarantee if you change your mind, which is pretty darn decent, if I do say so myself. A big thank you once again to Norton for sponsoring this video, and now, on with the show. Yeah!
Dennis Haysbert didn't want to die, 24. And here's the time Dennis Haysbert did everything in his power to dodge death, whilst playing President Palmer on Fox's hit drama series 24. After being bugged and nudged about the concept of being offed for a great many months, it supposedly took one of Haysbert's pals, who became one of the series' showrunners, to talk him into kissing goodbye to the character in season 5. David Palmer was ultimately assassinated in the season, an act that Haysbert was very much disappointed by, as he felt it continued an American legacy of compelling leaders being killed. His death on the show still didn't stop Haysbert from being a die-hard 24 fan, however, feeling that he still wanted to support the folks he worked with on the show in front of and behind the camera. When asked if he'd do it all the same if he could go back and relive his choice though, Haysbert honestly replied by admitting, "I wouldn't do it." Fair enough.
Eddie Murphy refused to shoot a scene with Steve Irwin and an alligator. Dr. Dolittle 2. Despite the Dr. Dolittle movies revolving around a man who can talk to animals, star Eddie Murphy is reportedly terrified of live animals. And so while shooting his 2 Dr. Dolittle films, insisted that as many of the animals as possible be created digitally. Murphy therefore spent most of his time on both sets working opposite thin air, though on the second movie a scene was written involving Dolittle and Steve Irwin, where Irwin was attacked by an alligator. Director Steve Carr originally proposed to Murphy that the scene be filmed with a living, breathing alligator, but Murphy flatly refused and only later agreed to shoot an amended version of the scene after it was agreed that the alligator would be created in post-production. In Murphy's own words, "I said, hey man, I'm not doing anything with an alligator. I mean, what's Steve Irwin gonna do if an alligator jumps on me? Narrate while I'm getting ripped?"
Juliana Margulies and Archie Punjabi don't see eye to eye. The Good Wife. On-set feuds have been known to throw more than their fair share of spanners in the works over the years, but perhaps the most excessive way of getting around two actors not seeing eye to eye came in the form of The Good Wife showrunner's solution to the ongoing Juliana Margulies and Archie Punjabi conflict. Instead of just telling the pair to grow up and do the thing they were being paid to do, pretend, green screen and body doubles were used to film a scene between the two in the show's 6th season. Margulies would state that this was due to Punjabi not being available to shoot opposite her on the day. However, Punjabi would fire back on Twitter, confessing the show that supposedly made her unavailable, The Fall, wasn't even shooting at the time and she was in New York ready to film. Whoever you choose to believe, it's clear the actors weren't up for being in the same room. So we were gifted a surreal split-screen piece of glued together footage instead. Everyone's a loser.
Michelle Rodriguez refused to film a romantic subplot with Paul Walker, The Fast and the Furious. So Michelle Rodriguez had signed on the dotted line to play Letty in the Fast and the Furious franchise. The script was complete and production was due to ramp up when she suddenly found herself philosophically unable to commit to a crucial scene. In the original script, Letty was supposed to be part of a love triangle subplot with her partner Dominic and the newest member of the Familia, undercover cop Brian O'Connor. But Rodriguez had serious misgivings about this storyline, feeling that above all else it made no sense for her character, and offered the producers an ultimatum: ditch the subplot or she break the contract and walk. She said, "Is it realistic for a Latin girl who's the alphaist of the alpha males to cheat on him with a cute boy?" I had to put my foot down. I basically cried and said, "I'm going to quit. Don't sue me, please. I'm sorry, but I can't do this in front of millions of people. My whole point in being an actress is that I thought I got to live a dream, and I don't dream about being a slut. Do you?" And Rodriguez was absolutely right. If nothing else, the love triangle would have saddled the film with unnecessary melodrama baggage and tainted Letty and Dom's relationship forevermore. Jeff Anderson refused to speak porno titles in front of a child. Clerks. One of the many intensely memorable and rather hilarious scenes in Kevin Smith's debut Clerks sees video rental store slacker Randall ordering a long list of obscenely titled porno tapes in front of a mother and her young daughter. Smith originally intended for the entire scene to be shot in a single wide master shot, where Randall, the mother, and the child could all be seen together for added comedic effect. However, Jeff Anderson refused to say the lewd VHS names in front of a small child, and so Smith agreed to compromise in having him read the porno titles together in a tighter close-up shot without the child present. But because Anderson thought the list of movie titles was excessive, Smith decided to have a little fun with Anderson by adding a ton of extra titles to the list, bringing it to a total of 19 porno flicks.
Lena Headey wouldn't shoot with Jerome Flynn due to a bad breakup. Game of Thrones. Keeping in the vein of actors not being able to coexist on the same set, a show famed for its ever-twisting relationship drama and venomous stares from a distance did its level best to avoid the real thing in the case of Lena Headey and Jerome Flynn over the course of shooting Game of Thrones. For those unaware, before the pair took up the reins of Cersei Lannister and Bronn, Headey and Flynn were involved in a relationship together. But with their romance ending on a particularly sour note, it was said that Headey wasn't overly keen on filming scenes with her ex, despite the two being involved in a decent amount of storylines together. However, Flynn has since gone on record to admit that he did actually share a scene with his former partner down the road, with the two being on speaking terms before declaring, "I wouldn't believe everything you read."
Emma Watson refused to shoot a cannibal scene with Danny McBride and Channing Tatum. This is the end. In the years following the release of Seth Rogen and James Franco's riotous 2013 comedy This Is the End, rumors spread that Emma Watson originally had a larger role in the film and had reportedly stormed off after becoming uncomfortable with a cannibalistic scene involving Danny McBride and Channing Tatum. Franco himself hinted that an actress who had a small role in the film did depart amid an on-screen conflict, and for years this was assumed to be Watson given the general lack of female roles in the movie. Back in March, Seth Rogen finally cleared the air once and for all by confirming that it was indeed Watson who left the movie early, but that her grievances with the production were completely justified. In a telling interview, Rogen clarified that the sequence in question was changed and improvised far beyond what Watson initially agreed to, and so, due to her discomfort, she decided to exit the shoot. Rogen, who co-directed the film, also apologized for creating an unpleasant working environment for the actress and commended her for speaking up. Wesley Snipes refused to shoot any scene where his face wasn't visible. Blade Trinity. Unlike Emma Watson, Wesley Snipes' conduct wasn't quite so reasonable on the set of Blade Trinity, where due to major creative disagreements with writer-director David S. Goyer, he decided to sandbag the production as much as possible. First and foremost, Snipes refused to leave his trailer for any scenes and shots where his face didn't need to be visible, deferring instead to his stunt double. Given that it's standard practice for actors to be available for their co-stars when shooting their side of a conversation so that they can more easily immerse themselves in a scene, it's a major sign of disrespect not to do this. As such, some have estimated that Snipes' stunt double was actually present for more of the shoot than the actor himself. Nevertheless, Snipes ended up suing both Goya and New Line Cinema over, amongst other things, claims that his role was reduced in favour of co-stars Ryan Reynolds and Jessica Biel. Well, at least they showed up, mate.
Alison Hannigan won't shoot kissing scenes with Jason Segel. How I Met Your Mother. How I Met Your Mother's Lily and Marshall sit as perhaps one of the sweetest and most endearing couples ever brought to life on camera. Yet behind the scenes, things weren't always as idyllic and enjoyable as the pair made their relationship look on the show, with Alison Hannigan and Jason Segel being required to smooch on countless occasions in the series. The former was said to have been repulsed by the taste of cigarette breath, brought on by the latter's fondness for a smoke, so much so that Hannigan convinced her on-screen lover to pay her $10 for every ciggy he indulged in, resulting in him racking up a sizable debt before long. But this tactic worked as Segel opted to cut the habit soon enough, only to fall back on his smokes due to stress. Segel would try his best to accommodate Hannigan by always having gum or a mint handy, but the Lily actor confessed that it doesn't help, which likely led to the lack of any real significant tonsil tennis on show between the two throughout the show's 9-season run.
Kane Hodder refused to kick a dog. Friday the 13th Part 8, Jason Takes Manhattan. Kane Hodder is by far the most recognized performer to play Jason Voorhees in the Friday the 13th franchise, having appeared in 4 of the series' movies and bringing the most distinct physicality to this character. He'd also expressed an intense passion for Jason ever since the beginning, such that when he was shooting Friday the 13th Part 8, Jason Takes Manhattan, he refused to film a scene where Jason violently kicks a dog to stop it barking at him. The actor's rationale was that Jason would never hurt a dog and that his beef was strictly with people, so the scene in question was swiftly dropped. The irony of him being totally cool with slaughtering dozens of defenseless saps but not kicking a single dog, perhaps not even to death, is pretty hilarious though.
Neil McDonough won't do love scenes. Scoundrels. In another instance of an actor's religious beliefs influencing their on-screen decisions, it's time to put a spotlight on Neil McDonough giving love scenes a hard no for the sake of his marriage. After only working on the ABC show Scoundrels for a matter of days, it was reported by Deadline that the casting change that saw McDonough swiftly given the boot from the series was brought about by him refusing to kiss or perform love scenes with his co-star Virginia Madsen. This wasn't the first time that his strict Catholic religious beliefs were the cause of tension on set though, as the star was also against taking part in sex scenes whilst working on ABC's Desperate Housewives, with the actor stating in 2016, "When you're in bed with another woman on screen, guess what? That's real. I don't like that kind of stuff, especially now with the kids. I don't want to have my kids say, 'Hey dad, what are you doing with that lady on screen?'" McDonough's insistence on sticking to his guns reportedly cost him a whopping $1 million Scoundrels paycheck. Happy wife, happy life and all that, I suppose.
Will Smith refused to kiss Anthony Michael Hall. 6 Degrees of Separation. Will Smith stars in the 1993 drama 6 Degrees of Separation as Paul, a young conman who insinuates himself into the home of a well-to-do Fifth Avenue couple. One scene sees Paul meet up with his former lover Trent, and the script called for the two to share a kiss. However, Smith ended up backing out at the last minute, fearing what his friends back in Philadelphia would think of him kissing a man. As a result, the director was forced to get creative, shooting the kiss from behind Smith's head where the actor's lips aren't ever shown making contact. It is awkward to say the least. After word got back to Smith's co-star Sir Ian McKellen, a gay man lest we not forget, he decided to show Smith how silly he was being by meeting him at an early screening of the film and planting an unexpected kiss on his lips. To his credit, Smith later called his own actions immature.
Don Krasinski doesn't want Jim to cheat on Pam, The Office. Comprising one half of the universally cherished Jim and Pam partnership, there was once a time during season 8 when the show's creators thought it would be interesting to explore a world where Jim cheated on his wife by kissing a temporary office administrator who was taking over from Pam while she was on maternity leave. Classy. As Krasinski put it himself, "I remember saying things that I never thought I'd say before, like, I'm not going to shoot it." Krasinski clearly felt that this move would result in their audience turning their backs on the pair and potentially the series as a whole, revealing, "There's a moment where if you push them too far, they'll never come back. And I think that if you show Jim cheating, they'll never come back." Sure enough, the scene was cut in the end, despite show creator Greg Daniels still sticking by the fact that he thought it would have been a good idea. Nah, probably not, mate.
Gal Gadot refused to shoot Joss Whedon's sexist Wonder Woman gag. Justice League. Joss Whedon's original 2017 cut of Justice League was criticised for, amongst other things, its overabundance of sex jokes and general leering camera work where Wonder Woman is concerned. The most objectionable scene involves the Flash saving Wonder Woman from being crushed by rubble, resulting in him accidentally laying on top of her for a brief moment. Now, the actress wasn't happy with this scene and so simply refused to shoot it, at which point her stunt double was called in to perform the scene instead. As such, Diana isn't facing the camera in this moment to keep the illusion alive. She later claimed that Whedon, who had come under intense scrutiny for his conduct while finishing the film, threatened her career for refusing to shoot the scene and requested changes to Wonder Woman's depiction. Thankfully, the scene in question was removed entirely from the more recent Snyder Cut, which, let's face it, has basically rendered the Whedon cut absolutely obsolete.